So this is also going to be a pretty short section because the next section is lengthy. So I want to talk about cultural considerations and nutrition. When you are assessing your client's nutritional status, when you are teaching about nutrition, when you're trying to provide adequate nutrition for your client, you need to make sure that you are considering their cultural and personal preferences. So there is a lot of variation in from one culture to another, and even within a culture from family to family, there's variation in what foods are typically eaten, in how they're prepared, in what rituals surround eating. Eating is a social activity for most people, or it has been historically, and so there's a lot of cultural and spiritual context that surrounds eating. So we need to be aware of that and consider that. We actually at times we discover that patients are, their intake is decreased because they're eating alone all the time. So one intervention might be actually having someone to eat with. So traditional foods and eating rituals vary from culture to culture, but for individuals, the degree of acculturation, the degree to which they follow the traditional practices of their culture or the practices of the larger culture vary a lot. So this is very individual, even though we may see some trends. There also are some religious beliefs about what foods are acceptable to eat and if there are certain times that a food is acceptable or unacceptable. And so religion can impact intake as well. There have been some major cultural changes in the US over the last few decades that have changed the way we eat. It used to be the norm for families to sit down and have at least 2 meals a day at a table as a family, if not all 3. And those meals were mostly prepared at home with fresher ingredients. Now we're working more hours. Our kids are busier, we're busier, and so it's more common for families to eat on the go. We eat a lot more fast food, we eat out a lot more, we eat a lot more prepared foods and less fresh foods, and those things impact nutrition as well. Vegetarianism and veganism have increased in popularity over the last several years. What you need to know about that from a nutritional standpoint, you need to know what potential nutrition deficits that someone following those diets might run into. So what particular nutrients they might need to supplement. A vegetarian diet that includes milk and eggs, or includes dairy and eggs, typically with some planning can meet someone's nutritional needs. A vegan diet that includes no animal products, there's usually going to be some deficiencies that are going to require supplementation, in particular B vitamins and zinc. So make sure that you're aware of those things, and rather than just tell people, no, that's not a healthy diet, we need to be talking about how they can make choices about their food health and what might need to be supplemented. We also may be in the position of identifying risk factors that are related to some cultural eating patterns. Like, to go back to our dominant culture here, we're in a culture where people work a lot of hours, and our eating habits have changed over the last several decades, mostly related to our work and life patterns. And those changes have not necessarily been good ones. So what are some risks that are associated with the way Americans eat and live our lives? What are some of those nutritional risks? We have a lot of people in the US who actually have calorie excess. They take in too many calories, but they still have nutrient deficiencies. And that's a very, very common nutrition problem you're going to see in the US. Okay, so we're going to come back and talk about some lifespan impacts on nutrition.